Welcome back to the second mini lecture. So we said that they were dangerous products. So yeah, these we shouldn't be expecting to find medicines on the shelves of ASDA in their realms. They need to be regulated because they're dangerous, and that's where all the legislation started from the thalidomide tragedy. What happens is there's a set of regulations, directives, and statutory instruments, and they are all the legal framework that put all these things into place. In 1968, they wrote the Medicines Act, and medicines are regulated by the realms of safety, quality, and efficacy. They need to be safe for their indication. Don't forget that safety is a sort of relative term, relative to what you want to treat. So cancer drugs tend to be a bit less safe than stuff like paracetamol. They're a high quality product, and efficacy. You have to prove that they work. You don't have to prove how they work, but you have to prove that they do actually work. So 1968, there's lots of amendments to that. So in the 2012 human medicines regs, they updated it all and put it into one succinct legislation regs so that everybody can see it all together. So those are the sort of two main bodies that you're going to have a look at if you're dealing with meds. And then there's two places where they regulate medicines. There's the EMA, which is the European Medicines Agency. So they regulate medicines across the whole of Europe. And that's a hot topic at the moment, isn't it? So not quite sure where we're going to stand with this. So if you made a new paracetamol, Europe don't care. You can just license it over here. If you made something like a new diabetes drug, then Europe want that as well. And we have an agreement with them that if you license it here, you would license it across the whole of Europe. And that's how we share data and share medicines with them. The MHRA, they regulate here on UK soil. And so if you made your new paracetamol, they would license it here and you just go through the MHRA. And that stands for the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. So they regulate all of the drugs and the medicines, and also things like sort of, the pressure stockings and things like that, and sort of surgical things, all sorts of stuff like that. So that's just a little bit about sort of what legislation sits around. And a little bit about definitions. So there's a difference actually between drugs and medicines. So drug is the substance which actually has the physiological effect. So it's a little white powder in the bottom of a test tube, and there won't be much of it. So if you consider a tablet of Ramipril, that whole tablet would be the medicine, but actually inside is the drug, and it would just be the 10 milligrams of Ramipril. So it's generally a very small amount. Medicine is the actual whole thing, so it is that whole tablet, and it's how it's prepared for somebody to take. Some people say it also includes the packaging and even the leaflet and things like that. So a little bit of debate, but the medicine's the sort of wider thing, the bigger thing that you take. And then they say pharmacology is the study of drugs. Well, I disagree with them. It's actually the study of medicines, really, isn't it? Because we're studying the whole thing. But that's me being cantankerous. And then the last one of this mini lecture. So in order to go to a court of law and say, you're selling medicines, we need to have a definition of it. So a medicinal product is something that has properties for treating or preventing disease. But actually, if you realize here, it says as having properties for, it's presented as having properties for as well. So it's not just medicines, but if I got some chewing gum and I put a label on it and I said, if you get constipation, take this 3 times a day, then I'm presenting it as having properties as being a medicine, and so should be registered as and regulated as a medicine as well. So just there's 2 things there. It's either a medicine as we know it, or it's something that's being sort of presented to you as a medicine and sold. So that might be sort of packaging or anything. And then there's the bit down here about sort of modifying and changing function. And that one is a directive, an EC directive there. So that's the end of that one.